Thank you so much for joining us this morning on this edition of KRIS 6 Sunrise.
Yes, it is Tuesday, May 20th. Here's a look at the stories we're covering in your neighborhood.
A Corpus Christi councilwoman is sounding the alarm on a major water supply. I'm Adam Beam, diving into the concerns.
Rebuilding Sinton, one donation at a time. I'm Victoria Valderrama, and I'll show you how much help neighbors have gotten following the devastating fires.
Newnan Elementary librarian will be working this summer on a reading project. I'm Melissa Trevino in Alice. Pamela Gonzalez says she received a grant that'll aid her in building an asset for her students.
Good morning, folks. Thanks for being here. Welcome to KRIS 6 Sunrise. You're waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. Yeah, it was a gorgeous day yesterday, but, we've got some more in store for us, rather. But what can folks expect as they're just heading out the door? Hey, good morning, Steph. How you doing?
We're doing all right. How you doing?
Good.
Well, it's going to be a nice kind of week ahead when we look forward in time, because I think today's going to be the hottest day of the week. I'll explain more about that coming up in your weather on the 6s, but with the heat comes the humidity today, and we are already feeling the impact of that for the morning commute. Your traffic report, we got to talk about a little bit of visibility issues out on certain parts of the commute. 281, by the time you get to Alice, that visibility will drop from 8 miles in 540S to 5 in Alice. Along the Highway 35 commute, Rockport sitting at 5 miles of visibility, 5 in Port Aransas, but it improves to 6 miles if you're heading down toward the island to move on into the Bluff. If you're heading up toward Port A, visibility going to drop a little bit, so something to keep in mind. But so far, we're not seeing any major delays for the commute. Here in town, between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi, we're looking good along 181 and the Harbor Bridge. Coming down 37 or across 44 is an easy ride, and the crosstown interchange to 37 is delay-free at this time, too. From the Bay Area to the south side, it's a smooth one, and if you're going to NAS Corpus Christi this morning, those speeds up to 28 miles per hour. So as you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. Your weather on the 6s is ahead.
Thanks, Steph. The discharge permit for the desal plant could be changing. That's according to the Port Commission agenda for today's meeting. Port Commission has determined that the plant should discharge offshore into the Gulf as opposed to nearby in the Bay. It's a decision that would answer some environmental concerns involving desal, at least on the port side, not necessarily on the city side. If approved, the Port Commission would submit this request to TCEQ.
There's a resource fair today for neighbors in Petronila that were affected by the recent storms. It will start at 2 p.m. at the Petronila Elementary School. Representatives with the Red Cross, Frontier Waste Solutions, and the Salvation Army will be on hand to talk to neighbors. Petronila Elementary School is at 2391 County Road 67 in Robstown.
I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam. One of the main water supplies for the Mary Roads pipeline is shut down, according to one Corpus Christi councilwoman. Here's what we know so far.
Shut down. That's what District 2 Representative Sylvia Campos says has happened to our water supply from the lower Colorado River.
Lower Colorado River notified the city that the river will not have sufficient supply for us to take today.
According to the councilwoman, ongoing conditions mean the city could not receive its day-to-day amount that provides 40 million gallons of water per day and is one of the two main sources for the Mary Roads pipeline.
As we stated, the lower Colorado River is under severe drought.
Corpus Christi Water Chief Operating Officer Drew Molly saying the challenge with a water supply like the Colorado River is fluctuation. While water couldn't be provided at this time, it will be on Tuesday.
It's a day-to-day basis. So if you ask me the question, well, what about Wednesday? What about Thursday? What about Friday? I don't have an answer for you on that.
Campos saying that now is the time to enact Stage 4 water emergency.
Right now we're in Stage 3. I believe we need to call this a water emergency. This is it. This is now the time for industry to cut back at least 10%.
While Molly emphasized the need for diversifying water sources.
It's a reminder that we have got to get a drought-proof water supply project delivered sooner sooner.
We will continue to monitor this developing story and update you as we learn more. Reporting from Corpus Christi, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam, for KRIS 6 News.
Just a reminder, folks, we are still under stage 3 water restrictions, and that means no lawn watering is allowed. Foundation watering is allowed by drip irrigation. Handheld hose or hand watering of trees, vegetable gardens, shrubs, and potted plants is allowed before 10 a.m. and after 6 p.m. Swimming pools can be maintained but must be covered when not in use, and home car washing is limited to bucket washing on your designated watering day.
Hey there, good morning and happy Tuesday. We are looking at a very, very humid start to the day, and a warm one at that. Temperatures are warmer than we'd normally see them for this time of the year, and once we factor in that humidity, much like we've been talking about each of the past couple of afternoons, boy, are we feeling the warmth this morning. So let's show you how things are shaping up in your neighborhood. Yeah, we've got those temperatures at either 80 degrees or 80 degrees, or in the case of Rockport, 81 degrees. It's not a whole lot of variety out there because the humidity kind of levels the playing field, but we do have the variety is how your body perceives that temperature based on the unique humidity in your neighborhood. So winds not quite as breezy today. We're keeping it under 10 miles per hour for most locations, but that just allows all that moisture to settle into some visibility issues out on the roadways. We're down to 5 miles of visibility in Port A, Rockport, and Alice. Doing better in the Bluff at 6 miles and 7 in Hebbronville. So as we go through this morning, you can expect improvements to come. We are going to be dealing with a good deal of cloud coverage for the morning hours, but that's expected to break up as we head into the late afternoon. So we'll still get to the upper 80s by lunchtime. Not much of a breeze, so that may feel pretty stagnant to you out there, but the second half of the day will bring more sunshine. We'll call it fourth quarter sunshine here as we head into the late afternoon, early evening time frame. That's when we're expected to hit our hottest temperatures. A bit later than usual, but even still, our winds are not going to be very strong, and yet they continue to just keep that humidity locked in place, meaning it is going to feel pretty hot to your body out there. If you're going for the dog walk, heading out with the young kiddos in the stroller, or maybe taking out some time with your older family members, we need to be careful because our heat risk is higher up on the scale today. While we're not seeing as much purple across the inland parts of the coastal bend as we anticipated, there's still purple on the map, so it's still an issue. Let's be careful. There is still as much red as we thought across many of the coastal neighborhoods as well. So that's a 3 out of 4 major heat risk. We still need to be careful. But improvements come tomorrow with less of the red and purple on the map. And as we head on into Thursday, even better. We're looking at a lower end heat risk for a 1 to 2 for most neighborhoods. That is great because that means we're going to have some changes in the weather pattern. It comes on the heels of this cold front. So this is going to see more help from upstairs in the atmosphere, meaning it's going to get closer to us, and that could help bring that heat down. It's not going to bring us back in check for the temperatures, but it's going to bring them down even by a little bit. That will help. Now, is it going to trigger rainfall? That's not very likely outside of maybe a stray shower on Wednesday. I think our next best chance for rain is really going to come next week on the Memorial Day Monday holiday and persist into the next couple of days of the last week of May. So it's still a couple days out. Let's keep an eye on it, but at least it's looking good to see some rain in the forecast. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast for our neighbors up in Rockport and for our neighbors down in Kingsville. Mind you, while the temperatures will be improving ever so slightly, this is still warm for this time of the year.
Rebuilding Sinton, one donation at a time. Coming up on Sunrise, neighborhood news reporter Victoria Balderrama shows us how much help neighbors have received following those devastating fires.
Neighborhood news reporter Victoria Balderrama. For more than 2 months, money has been collected for Sinton fire victims. Now, United Way of the Coastal Bend has distributed checks to those affected by the fires. 26 homes, 38 adults, and 31 children were affected by the fires.
Personally, all the money that has been donated to me, along with the release fund, it's all going to the house.
Clemente Sanchez on Hamilton Street is someone I've been checking on regularly since early March. He tells me everyone on his street applied for the Sinton Fire Disaster Relief Fund, established by the United Way of the Coastal Bend.
And everybody that lost their home or had it partly burned, like mine, were given a check last Friday.
As I last reported, donations reached over $400,000 with the help of Steel Dynamics Industry. That money has been divided based on need.
All those that were affected by the fire that provided their application for us, and all the applications that came in did get an award.
The United Way of the Coastal Bend is not sharing how much each neighbor received, but Sanchez says it's enough to help him finish rebuilding.
That will cover the flooring, the unit that I'm going to put in, and more paint for the outside.
I also reached out to Melissa Wall and her family, who lost everything. She shared how much she received with me and says she's grateful for the help. As the rebuilding continues, we'll be here to show you their progress. In Sinton, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Victoria Balderrama for Chris 6 News.
Hey there, happy Tuesday. A pretty soggy one here across the coastal bend, and soupy feeling too. Temperatures are warm, humidity is very high, and it all adds up to what's likely going to be the hottest day of the week in the coastal bend. Let's get right into what's happening right now when you step out the door. The view from the WADA Skycam, focused on both bridges, is pretty hazy and pretty glowy. That's because we've got lighter winds out there, meaning as all that moisture settles, all those little water droplets are reflecting and refracting some of the light that you're seeing here from Whataburger Field and beyond. That means we can definitely see the air you can wear right now. So as we get a look at temperatures in your neighborhood, it's probably more helpful to look at the feels like temperature in your neighborhood, because that's the temperature your body will perceive, and it varies depending on where you are and how that humidity is in relation to the temperature, because most of us are sitting at 80 degrees, but the feels like temperatures are ranging from true to temperature at 77 in Freer to as hot as 87 degrees in Robstown, 88 in Rockport, 86 for our coastal neighborhoods as well. So hour by hour, you can expect to have another cloudy start, at least for the first half of the day and even the early afternoon. Perhaps not the most picturesque, but that won't stop us from warming up. We're going to see those temperatures reaching the upper 80s. Factor in the humidity. It's going to be feeling much warmer as we head into the afternoon. And while our winds will remain light, that only allows that humidity to feel more stagnant. The air you can wear really giving us a vice grip for today. And that's what makes today feel like the hottest day of the week. Not only will our actual air temperatures likely be the hottest that we see over the next 7 days, it is going to feel significantly hotter as well. Heading into the afternoon, something interesting about today, we're also going to see our highest temperatures later in the afternoon than usual, because that's where that sunshine starts to break out. We're going to top out around 91 degrees here in Corpus Christi. Other neighborhoods likely to reach the middle 90s. And still, the breeze doesn't really pick up as we head into the afternoon. We're looking at maybe 10, possibly 15 miles per hour, still an onshore flow. So that means heat risk is still top of mind for today. It's not quite as serious as we were projecting yesterday, but it's still something to be concerned with. There's a good deal of red on this map. That is a 3 out of 4 major heat risk. And kids, pets, and the elderly, they're more prone to heat-related illness. That means we need to make sure we're keeping a careful eye on them. Tomorrow, heat risk will improve as well as into Thursday. And who do we have to thank for that? This cold front I told you about yesterday. So this looks to be getting some more help from upstairs in the atmosphere, meaning as it approaches the coastal bend, it's likely to bring a slight cool down and change of winds to our forecast. That means we're going to be feeling a lot better out there. Now, will it bring rainfall? Okay, let's not get greedy with it. Maybe a stray shower chance on Wednesday. I'm not really putting my eggs in that basket. However, I think as we go into next week, starting Monday night for the Memorial Day holiday, we could be looking at increasing rain chances more so into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But that's still several days out. And if you've lived in the coastal bend long enough, you know it's not wise to have that much confidence on rainfall chances several days out. So it's just something to give us a glimmer of hope on the horizon. We'll keep an eye on it, but overall temperatures will slowly improve. We're still going to be warmer than average for this time of the year. We're a lot closer to par, but we're still going to stay unseasonably warm through the weekend and into next week.
Coming up after the break, Scripps News Group Joe St. George joins us from Washington. He has the latest on President Trump's mega tax policy bill.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
Welcome back, folks. So President Donald Trump is heading to Capitol Hill today to lobby for the passing of his mega tax policy bill.
And to talk about it, we have Scripps News Group Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joining us live now this morning. Good morning, Joe. So it's another big day at Capitol Hill. Can you tell us why the next key vote for this bill could happen in the late night hours? And is there a chance that it could be passed this week?
Yeah, and let's start with why everyone should care, right? This is a very consequential piece of legislation. This could be the defining legislative accomplishment of President Trump's legacy. Tough to find a Texan, tough to find an American that's not impacted in some shape or form here. If you're a parent of a newborn child, there's child tax credit changes and creation of new savings accounts. If you're older Americans, changes in your tax liability perhaps going forward. If you are on Medicaid, new work requirements may be instituted for certain Medicaid recipients. The list goes on and on and on, and oftentimes we don't even mention the immigration-related changes. Billions of dollars for border security, including a new fee, a new $1,000 fee that would be charged to those seeking asylum in this country. The reason the president's coming to Capitol Hill in about an hour or so is that the votes may not be there right now to pass this in the House. With such a large piece of legislation and such a raucous Republican conference, it's difficult for Republicans to move in unison on anything. There's some conservatives who say the Medicaid cuts don't go far enough. They want more changes. Other Republicans say, wait a minute, we don't want people to be losing health insurance in our district. So the divide is great on a number of issues. President Trump likely going to the basement of the U.S. Capitol where the meeting will be held with lawmakers this morning and say, look, no bill's ever perfect. This is a chance to go back and tell your constituents that you've done real change. The president in the past has come to Capitol Hill when the votes aren't there, and then voila, he's able to move them in ways no modern American politician has been able to move House Republicans over the last 10 years or so. So we'll see if that success rate continues. We have that graphic, again, of where the timeline of this bill is. It passed the Budget Committee, as we reported yesterday on Sunday night. Again, we're following every angle of this because it's such a consequential bill. We expect it to be in the Rules Committee. Get this, 1 a.m. tonight, 1 a.m. Wednesday morning, East Coast time, midnight Texas time. If you're wondering, well, why? So are Democrats. In fact, they're blasting that decision, saying if this is such a big, beautiful bill, why are Republicans attempting to advance it under the cover of darkness? Republicans say they're doing that because that's the earliest under current standard procedures that this bill could go to the Rules Committee, and they would love this vote to happen Wednesday, perhaps Thursday, on the floor of the House. We'll see if the votes are there. It's going to be a big story the rest of the week. It starts with President Trump's visit to where I'm at here on Capitol Hill in just about an hour or so, guys.
Well, thank you so much for tracking this today, Joe.
Yeah, we really appreciate your insights, sir. Y'all have a good one.
Hey there, starting off with this 4-panel view of Skycams around the coastal bend. We are looking at the top left, the view from our CCAC camera out at Snoopy's, looking a bit dreary now that we've got a little daylight behind the clouds. At the bottom left, a rather skewed view of SPID. That's with all that haziness from the glowing lights. Yeah, it really reflects some of those lights in an interesting way. Bottom right, we are looking at our studio Skycam overlooking downtown Corpus Christi. Again, cloudy and dreary, and we're also seeing the glowiness in the lights there. And that top right, the view from the Wata Skycam. This is our camera at Whataburger Field, and this is where we'll start out your weather on the 6s. We are looking at a pretty gloomy view from here as well. Less glowiness now that we're starting to get daylight, but if you look at some of those lights that are closer to the ground, they do seem to have this glow around them, and that is because with the ample humidity we're seeing in the coastal bend, the little water droplets, the moisture, that's reflecting and refracting the light that we see around town, and it's making for a pretty gloomy morning, really, more than anything else. But the sun will come out and we'll see some changes in our forecast today. Looking to be the hottest day of the week. So here's what's going on in your neck of the woods. Temperatures pretty uniform, sitting around 80 degrees, plus or minus a degree, give or take. And with lighter winds this morning, still onshore from that humid and warm south-southeast wind direction, it is making it feel oppressively humid out there. We are talking about air you can wear, very soupy conditions that's actually impacting the visibility because we don't have much shaking and moving in the wind to break some of that up. So we're looking at 5 miles of visibility in Port Aransas and Rockport, but also 6 miles of visibility once you get a little further down 361. And head on into the Bluff, the reading at NAS Corpus Christi. Alice also giving us a reading of 5 miles of visibility. So as you trek from Falfurrias to Alice, seeing a slight reduction on account of that hazy nature of our atmosphere. But let's check in on what's going on in your neighborhood at the street level. The Chris 6 Neighborhood Weather Network showing us that in the Beeville neighborhood, yes, we're all in the same pool, 80 degrees from Hilltop Road on over to FM 504. As we move on into the Kingsville neighborhood, 80 degrees off Bishop Badger Meadowbrook, but we take that up to 81 off Southwest Kingsville reporting station there and East County Road 2120. Moving now into the south side where, yes, we have seen some of those temperatures that have been around 80 degrees. We are going to continue to watch that humidity take a vice grip on our afternoon highs. Hour by hour, the clouds stick around, but so does that humidity, taking us to the upper 80s by lunchtime. And with light winds, again, it's going to feel very stagnant out there. Heading on into the other half of the day, it's the late afternoon, early evening time frame where we really get that sunshine and our warmest temperatures of the day. That's going to take us to the lower 90s here in Corpus Christi. And with just a gentle breeze, you guessed it, onshore, it will continue to feel humid. So we're focusing on that heat risk again for today. Today likely to be the hottest day of the week, both by temperature and feels like temperature. So please, whatever plans you have outdoors, make sure you're taking that into account. We'll see improvements tomorrow and through the rest of the week because there's a cold front that is nearing the coastal bend. It's getting some help from upstairs, and it's going to be changing not only our wind direction, but slowly shaving a few degrees off the temperature. That will make things feel better. And while it doesn't really offer much for rain chances, it sets the tone for change next week with our next best chance of rain.
Elementary school teachers in Port Aransas host a special learning experience called Ocean Week. I'm Erin Holly in Port Aransas, telling you why these teachers do this for students every year.
This is Veterans in Focus, sponsored by the Heil Law Firm, battling for justice, winning for the community.
One beach and a bond built beyond borders. The nonprofit 10 Clicks Outdoors brought veterans together from Canada and the United States over the weekend, and they gathered in Port Aransas for the event Fought Together, Fish Together, a powerful part of the nonprofit's mission to harness the healing power of nature.
The military is really good at making soldiers, really good at making Marines. They're not good at making civilians. So it's on us to be able to do stuff like this to get them integrated back into what their lives really should be like.
And you know, I was able to meet a Canadian veteran who spent 10 years in uniform. Join us tonight at 6 o'clock for this week's Veterans in Focus to see his interview and also see how a weekend on the water showed him that despite the different flags they served under, the experiences of veterans are far more alike than they are different.
All right, how's that commute looking though for the busy bees who are about to head up and out the door? This is a view from the First Community Bank camera, which sits atop the USS Lexington there and faces the Harbor Bridge, both current and soon to be. Traffic appears to be moving smoothly over the Harbor Bridge, and have you noticed while we've had this up, haven't had the shaky happening. Yes, much more still winds, and that means it's feeling oppressively like air you can wear when you step outside. So don't be surprised if you find some haziness along the commute. Give yourself a few extra minutes, but overall, we're not really seeing much for delays. We're looking good along 181 between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi. Once you get on into town, whether you're taking 37 or 44, we're looking good here. Even that interchange between the Crosstown Expressway and 37 is looking pretty smooth for this hour of the morning. From the Bay Area down to the south side, all the major thoroughfares are looking good, as is that ride on into NAS Corpus Christi this morning. Speeds around 25 to 30 miles per hour. The rest of the Bluff looks pretty typical for the morning, and the ride out to the island is easy peasy lemon squeezy. So as you head out this morning, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. Your weather on the 6s is ahead.
It might feel like you can't escape talk of tariffs, and for businesses, it's becoming a must. I'm Stephanie Liebergen, and coming up, how companies are using tariffs in their messaging to consumers like you.
Say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Good morning, South Texas. Have a wonderful day from Freer High School's Lanac Clay.
Hey, what an awesome group over there. We hope you guys also have a wonderful day. And folks, if you want to send us your own shout out video, you can always do so. Just scan the QR code right there you see on your screen, or you can go to our website, christv.com.
Happy Tuesday. We are looking at what's likely going to be the hottest day of the week, which might cause puppers like Benny Blue to be concerned, but don't worry. We can still enjoy the dog walk forecast today because it does give us a little bit of relief in that it's not going to be quite as hot as we were anticipating. But yes, for pups like Benny Blue, we need to make sure that we're taking more walks frequently and make them shorter. That's how our pups can handle the heat best. But as we see a cloudy morning setting up, that means our temperatures will get to those upper 80s around lunchtime, and with not much of a breeze, that's what kind of makes for trouble because that makes all of this icky humidity very stagnant and it makes it hard for us to handle the heat. But into the afternoon, we'll see those clouds break up and see some fourth quarter sunshine. Late in the day, we'll reach our high temperatures, say around 5 to 7 p.m. the end of the day. So our heat risk isn't quite as intense as we were expecting, but it's still something that we don't want to bat an eye at. We need to take this seriously because there's plenty of red on this map. That's a 3 out of 4 major heat risk. And I mentioned today will likely be the hottest day of the week, both by temperature and feels like temperature. So thank goodness we're going to be over the hump as we move on into your Hump Day Wednesday. Improving heat risk into tomorrow and Thursday because there's a cold front that is traversing the Lone Star State. It's getting some help from upstairs in the atmosphere to continue pressing on toward the coast. So no matter how close it gets to us, it does look like it's going to bring us some small bit of relief in our temperature situation and shift our winds around so we can get a bit of a break from the humidity too. Even still, temperatures will be warm for this time of the year, even if only by a few degrees. The humidity exacerbates that, makes it worse. And you know what? We're not expecting much rain as we go through the next 5 days, but I'm thinking we have some decent rain chances into next week.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for 20 minutes of non-stop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. We'll check in with meteorologist Stephanie Luber in just a bit. But first, here's your neighborhood check-in.
I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam. One of the main water supplies for the Mary Roads pipeline is shut down, according to one Corpus Christi councilwoman. Here's what we know so far.
Corpus Christi Water Chief Operating Officer Drew Molly saying the challenge with a water supply like the Colorado River is fluctuation. While water couldn't be provided at this time, it will be on Tuesday.
We will continue to monitor this developing story and update you as we learn more. Reporting from Corpus Christi, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam, for Chris 6 News.
I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Victoria Balderrama. For more than 2 months, money has been collected for Sinton fire victims. Now, United Way of the Coastal Bend has distributed checks to those affected by the fires. 26 homes, 38 adults, and 31 children were affected by the fires. Clemente Sanchez on Hamilton Street is someone I've been checking on regularly since early March. He tells me everyone on his street applied for the Sinton Fire Disaster Relief Fund, established by the United Way of the Coastal Bend. As I last reported, donations reached over $400,000 with the help of Steel Dynamics Industry. That money has been divided based on need. The United Way of the Coastal Bend is not sharing how much each neighbor received, but Sanchez says it's enough to help him finish rebuilding. I also reached out to Melissa Wall and her family who lost everything. She shared how much she received with me and says she's grateful for the help. As the rebuilding continues, we'll be here to show you their progress. In Sinton, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Victoria Balderrama, for Chris 6 News.
I'm Melissa Trevino, your neighborhood news reporter in Alice. Noonan Elementary librarian Pamela Gonzalez tells me she'll be spending her summer months shopping for ebooks, thanks to the Laura Bush Foundation for America's Libraries grant.
Now it's really hard, to get children to actually open books and read, and so you have to reach them where they're at.
Second grader Sienna Zamora can't wait to read books even when school is over.
I feel happy because we could read more books.
This librarian says it's her job to make sure students have a way to access learning material from anywhere. In Alice, I'm Melissa Trevino, your neighborhood news reporter, Chris 6 News.
It's a decades-long tradition in Port Aransas. I'm talking about Ocean Week. I'm Erin Holly, your Port Aransas neighborhood news reporter, showing how teachers here are shining light on the coastal community we live in. Students in pre-K through 5th grade got special presentations from scientists at the University of Texas Marine Science Institute and even took part in some hands-on activities like ocean arts and crafts and even dissecting a squid. Staff at H.G. Olson Elementary School tell me they hope to continue the Ocean Week tradition for many years to come. In Port Aransas, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Erin Holly, Chris 6 News.
Hey there, happy Tuesday. We are looking at what's likely going to be the hottest day of the week because not only are our actual air temperatures going to be the hottest of the week, with all this humidity, it is going to feel the most oppressively hot. So let's get right into what's happening right now in your neighborhood. Starting off with a little weather observation. This is the view from the Wata Sky Cam, and while it's looking like a dreary start to the day, I want to point out, yes, Old Glory is moving in the wind here. That's the flag right underneath the apex of the Harbor Bridge at Whataburger Field, but it's a gentle breeze. We also have some glowiness in the light you see right by it. That shows us that we got a lot of moisture droplets in the air, and since there isn't a whole lot of wind, those are allowed to settle and they reflect and refract the light that we're seeing around town. So that means you can expect that humidity to be extra tricky today, and with very warm temperatures. We're sitting at 80 degrees across most neighborhoods. It's feeling hotter across some of those neighborhoods because the feels like temperature or heat index we are already dealing with this morning is a bit uncomfortable across a lot of the neighborhoods. So with generally light winds, all those water droplets settling, that's also making for some reduced visibility out on the roadways. We're down to 4 miles of visibility in Port Aransas, so that ride along 361 is going to be a bit hazy. Rockport at 5 miles, Alice also at 5 miles, and we've got 6 miles of visibility for the Bluff at NAS Corpus Christi, as well as down in Hebronville. So let's take a closer look at what's going on in your neighborhood with Chris 6 Neighborhood Weather Network. This is where we can kind of see how humidity levels the playing field. Temperatures sitting at 80 degrees in the Beeville neighborhood from FM 504 all the way out to Hilltop Road. Heading now into the Kingsville neighborhood, 80 degrees off Bishop Badger Meadowbrook, but 81 off our Southwest Kingsville station and down to 80 off East County Road 2120. So singing the same tune. And once we move into the south side, yes, a similar story, 80 degrees for all of the reporting stations here. So we are feeling the heat and the humidity this morning. How is the rest of our day going to go? Well, it's probably been tough to get the pup out for a walk because it's been hot, and we know that kids, pets, and the elderly have a harder time with these kinds of hot conditions. They're more prone to heat-related illness. So for Benny Blue, we are going to get to go for that walk. They just need to be shorter and maybe more frequent to get through the day with the most fun. So we'll start off with this morning, more clouds than sun, and that will still allow our temperatures to get to the upper 80s. The humidity will make it feel hotter, and don't expect much help from a breeze there. Even with a little bit of movement, it will be onshore. So our heat risk is still a concern today, anywhere from moderate to extreme heat risk for the extreme inland portions of the coastal bend. But where we have this red, that's a major heat risk, a 3 out of 4. So we still need to be careful. We'll see improvements into tomorrow and then again on Thursday. So that is some good news. What is bringing that relief? A cold front. A weak cold front, and it's moving across the Lone Star States, turning up severe weather across the Mississippi River Valley. But for us, it'll change our weather pattern, and that alone will help to bring our temperatures down just a little bit. And while it's not likely going to offer us any opportunity for rain, I am looking at hopefully some rain chances as we head on into the Memorial Day holiday Monday of next week. And it's also looking like Tuesday and Wednesday as well. I'll keep an eye on it. It's several days out, but you can still expect it to stay unseasonably warm.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
All right, to start off the list of 6 things you need to know before heading out the door.
A hearing is scheduled today in Rhode Island to address the massive cuts to the Health and Human Services Department. Now, under the Trump administration, roughly 20,000 employees have been laid off, taken a buyout, or have agreed to early retirement. The hearing stems from a lawsuit challenging the cuts that nearly 20 states say are unlawful and damage vital public health programs. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will also testify today in front of the Senate Appropriations Committee defending the HHS budget.
Well, hey, the discharge permit for the desal plant could be changing. That's according to the Port Commissioner's agenda for today's meeting. The Port Commission had determined that the plant should discharge offshore into the Gulf as opposed to nearby in the Bay. It's a decision that would answer some environmental concerns involving desal, at least on the port side. If approved, the Port Commission would submit this request to TCEQ.
A resource fair will take place today for neighbors in Petronila that were affected by the recent storms. It will start at 2 p.m. at the Petronila Elementary School. Representatives with the Red Cross, Frontier Waste Solutions, and the Salvation Army will be on hand to talk to neighbors. Petronila Elementary School is at 2391 County Road 67 in Robstown.
Hey, pitmaster and local philanthropist Pete Trevino is chipping in to help a fellow neighbor Ronnie Pointy Boots Mathis. Trevino will be hosting a benefit on June 14th over at the Hi-Ho Drive-In on Baldwin Boulevard. It starts at noon and lasts until they run out of food. Last week, we reported that Mathis has stage 4 prostate cancer. Doctors have given him 6 months to live. And for more information on the benefit for Ronnie Mathis, just scan that QR code you see right there on your screen.
Now, neighbors around the Coastal Bend are invited to help honor our fallen heroes ahead of Memorial Day. This Friday at 5 p.m., volunteers will be needed to help place U.S. flags at each of the grave sites at the Coastal Bend State Veterans Cemetery. All ages are welcome to volunteer.
Well, the L-Head by Sherrill Park will be under construction as crews replace several piers and underground dredging. It's all part of the Cooper's Alley project. Two-way traffic to the Yacht Club and Jane's Seafood House will continue on the westbound lane. So, hey, be on the lookout for flaggers guiding drivers through that construction. And construction is expected to wrap up June 1st.
All right, how are we looking for that commute? Well, from this view along SPID, you can tell it is super hazy outside, and emphasis on the soup part of soupy and super, because it's dropping our visibility along certain commutes. I'll show you now what that visibility is looking like. Down to 5 miles, both in Jim Wells County at our Alice reporting station, as well as up in Rockport. 4 miles is as low as we go in Port Aransas, so give yourself some extra time before you head up and out the door. But if you're coming in from the island, here's how the roadways are looking. A smooth ride along 361, Park Road 22 and the JFK Causeway. Into the Bluff, the approach to NAS Corpus Christi, doing just fine. Speeds up around 30 miles per hour. The rest of the Bluff looking pretty typical for this time of the morning. Some activity on Flower Bluff Drive and Waldron Road. Across the south side up to the Bay Area, we're looking good. And my, oh my, the slowdowns are building on that crosstown interchange 237. So you might want to hop off around Baldwin, take Staples into downtown to catch 181 or 37 as an alternate. As you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. Your weather on the 6s is ahead.
Tariffs have stolen the show when it comes to anything politics and economy, but you've probably also seen it in advertising. More brands are turning tariff headlines into a marketing opportunity. While many businesses are reeling from the uncertainty of tariffs, companies from auto dealers to underwear brands are making the import tax a part of their sales pitch.
I think companies are realizing they have to address the elephant in the room one way or the other. They have to talk about tariffs.
Deidre Popovich is an associate professor of marketing at Texas Tech University. She said not only is urgency a tried and true marketing tactic, but economic uncertainty is driving brands to connect with consumers in new ways.
I can't think of anything that's been so politically motivated that's driving marketing messages like we're seeing now with tariffs.
From urgency and price transparency to patriotism, brands are deploying different tactics depending on how they want to frame their product and connect with customers. Bare Necessities, a lingerie and swimsuit brand, pushed a pre-tariff sale via text message. while clothing brand Universal Standard offered sales on items already in their warehouse. Burlap and Barrel, a spice company, turned their annual spring sale into a tariff sale. It was so successful, they thanked their customers for, quote, putting gas in their tanks to keep them in business.
I think companies are trying to connect with consumers on that emotional level. So sending that message, we're all in this together.
But are they all actually sales? Well, that depends.
The sales may just be the normal price of the product, but in anticipation of costs going up in the future, it feels like it can be positioned as a sale.
Companies like Ford and Metro Mattress are using tariffs to promote patriotic, made in the USA messaging.
It's a commitment.
But not everyone is using tariffs to offer discounts. Adidas, Walmart, and Mattel are warning customers of price hikes. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News Group, Washington.
A couple of new businesses are making their way right here to the Coastal Bend. A new Goodwill store is set to open between Staples and Everhart. The grand opening will be Thursday, June 5th at 8:30 in the morning. Goodwill is offering prizes like free coffee and Corpus Christi Hooks raffle for the first 100 guests. And hey, Hawaiian Brothers Island Grill is also coming to the Coastal Bend. The island-inspired restaurant pays homage to the Hawaiian plate lunch. Their chicken is cooked in various Hawaiian ways and served with white rice and macaroni salad. No word yet on when Hawaiian Brothers Island Grill is set to open up, but we do know that it will be located at 5633 SPID near the Staples intersection. They are set to open up 8 new locations right here in Texas.
Here's a look at what's trending now. Starbucks kicks off their summer menu today. The coffee chain is offering some new items, including the iced horchata, oat milk shaken espresso. Fan favorite returns with summer berry Starbucks refreshers. And in addition to the new drinks, a new version of the strawberries and cream cake pop is back. Starbucks is the latest beverage or fast food chain to roll out a limited time menu.
That sounds pretty delicious, but we may be needing some of those cooler drinks because it's kind of hot out there, Steph. Got to do something about this.
Hey, you know, we're looking at improvements. We can always look at it as a positive. It will get better. We just got to get through today first. It's Tuesday, though, so it's been a long week already. All right, lots of humidity. Let's get into when we can finally get rid of some of it. So right now, we're looking at a hazy view across all the sky cams, and it just goes to show the wind wasn't really helping because it was drawing in moisture, but now that it's kind of gone, we're just sitting in the moisture. So it's not a lot of fun. Have the wide view for yourself. The view from the WADA Skycam pointed at the Harbor Bridge shows traffic is moving smoothly, but we have had some visibility dropping across parts of the commute. So here's how things are looking in your neighborhood. We're down to 4 miles of visibility, not only in Port Aransas, but also in Rockport and Alice right now. This should improve as we head into the next, say, 30 to 45 minutes. Once we get past sunrise, that should help to improve visibility. But yeah, be careful out there. Give yourself some extra time. It's a gloomy, overcast morning, but it won't be as we head later into the day. Those clouds will eventually break up, but it's the very little movement in the wind that is making 80 degrees across most neighborhoods feel so hot. So how do you plan a dog walk in this kind of weather? Well, Benny Blue has some ideas. Another pup that loves to go for that walk near Cole Park. Again, being near the cooler waters, that immediate breeze you get off the water does offer a little bit of relief. Unfortunately, today the breeze is not going to be as strong. And, you know, I think the best bet is just taking shorter but perhaps more frequent walks. That'll help us out. So as we go through today, the first half of the day will be cloudy and we'll reach the upper 80s before it's all said and done. Those will not feel like upper 80s. Those will feel likely as hot as the lower to middle 90s. So keep that in mind. Shorter, more frequent walks are best. But even with very little movement in the wind, we continue to keep that moisture, that humidity around. And so our heat risk is going to be higher today. And it's not as bad as we thought it would be. We were expecting more purple on the map for inland neighborhoods. Thankfully, that's not the case. We still have plenty of red, which is not ideal. That's a 3 out of 4 major heat risk across a lot of neighborhoods here. We'll see improvements tomorrow. as well as our movement into Thursday and beyond. Temperatures are going to come down just a little bit and our winds will change around. That helps a whole lot. Who's responsible for this help? Well, a late season cold front. It is churning up a pretty rough morning for folks along the Mississippi River Valley, but for us, it's getting help from upstairs in the atmosphere, and it's going to be close enough to us to change our wind direction, maybe drop the temperature by a few degrees, and that little bit will go a long way. Will it give us any rain chances? Not likely. I wouldn't hold my breath, but there is an absolutely straight chance for a shower Wednesday night. We'll see if it materializes, but I think we've got a better shot at rain as we head into next week. It looks to come late on Memorial Day, and hopefully we'll see that lingering into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week as well. But so far, we are looking at a week ahead where temperatures are going to stay warm for this time of the year. Average high temperature 88 degrees in Corpus Christi, and we're just going to stay a little bit above that. At best, we'll be close to it tomorrow. Wednesday looks to be at about 90 degrees, but you know, this same thing happened last May where we had this warm up to summer, and at least we've got some rain chances in the mix because I don't remember having much of that at all this time last year when we had that early heat wave.
I am keeping an eye on Memorial Day, though, because I know a lot of my friends will be hosting some ceremonies that are planned for outdoors in the morning and in the evening in Portland.
So far, I think we'll be okay. This should be something that we see later on the holiday Monday, so we can still observe Memorial Day, I think, with the weather complying.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back at noon, but if we don't see you then, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Bye.